the meeting and on our YouTube. All right, welcome guys. Today we're going to be looking at the study abroad options that that are available to nurses and other professionals. And we have a very experienced, I'll call him friend, but he's a colleague. He's very, very experienced. So I've known him for, I think we've known ourselves for more than 7 years now, right? It's been a long time, yeah. So we've known for quite some time, and I don't just ask anybody to come here. This is somebody who is gonna help you throughout the process, get you an admission. He has a company of his own. He'll get you an admission, help you to get to that country of your choice, because it's not just about coming to the US. There are other options for people who would like to take those kind of options. So you're all welcome to today's meeting. So we asked people to tell us where they are viewing this, session from, and we have a couple of responses on the comment section. So if you have not responded and you are not in any of these countries that has been mentioned, please kindly let us know on the comment section so that Mr. Funsho can at least know how to bring in your country, the specifics of your country. There are some, country specific requirements that might be, not be applicable to all the people. So if you are in any country that is not mentioned, just let us know in the comment section so we can, find out. So we have Nigeria, we have Ghana, we have Busayo from Nigeria, we have Okpara Ogechukwu from USA. I have someone, Chika Nkenne Okoye from New Jersey, USA. We have Enajete from Saudi Arabia. We have Oluwaseun from UK. We have Opera Nazir from Nigeria. All right, so I think that's all we have. But you can also, if you still feel like your country was not captured there, just let us know on the, comment section where you are viewing us from. All right, so without wasting much of our time, I'm going to let Mr. Funsho unmute himself, and then, give us a little bit of what he has for us today. I know that he came prepared. Can you unmute yourself, Mr. Funsho?
Yep. I can hear you guys. I'm ready.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. So we're going to keep all the questions. I can see some hands being raised already. So keep all your questions. At the end of the meeting, we'll give you the chance to ask your questions. Of course, it's going to be more of questions than just presentation. So we would give you a chance to ask your questions, and then we'll go from there. Thank you so much, everyone. Mr. Funsho, over to you.
Yes, good day, everyone, since we have people from different areas. The idea is basically to sort of furnish people with information about the general requirements for nursing, once you have some sort of nursing background. So I believe people would have some would have bachelors, some would have certificates in nursing, but the idea is to use the education channel to try and move into the US and get a job and basically relocate through that method. So what would help mostly would be, so let's say we go on and we talk about the general requirements for people with bachelors. I wonder if people are here who have bachelors already, or people who have RN, for instance, registered nurses. We have a few schools that I'm gonna probably drop in the groups as well, in the chat box with some possible schools and general requirements. But if we're going to just talk about some of the requirements, I think that's the main thing we're going to look at. But how I do wish, is it possible to understand what sort of qualifications we have at the moment for some of our people here?
Yes, very, yeah. So if you're the one benefiting from this program, or you're here just because you might be a likely sponsor of someone who might benefit, so just put the qualification of that person on the comment section, so that it kind of helps us to know how to direct the presentation. And Mr. Funsho, if you have anything that you want to show us, I think you can share your screen at the moment if you want to, if you have something that you prepared.
Yes, just give me a moment. Messages. Okay. So I do see quite a lot of people have BSN already. So that would mean people would go into a master's generally. If you have a bachelor's already, you'll be going into a master's. And let me just quickly talk about what possible options are. Just 1 second, please.
Right. So if you're just joining us, you're welcome. So Mr. Funsho Damilola is here with us. He's the CEO RUC Education. They're based in Lagos, Nigeria, and in Abuja. And also we have been trying to get started with the presentation, but we wanted to find out kind of the qualifications that you all have and what you think you might be going into, or even if you're here that you might be a possible sponsor of someone who'll be benefiting from this program. Please kindly put it down on the comment section so he can go through it and give you a kind of an overview about how to go about the process. Okay, did it meet you again? Sorry, I was let's see. I'll meet you now. Try it now. Yep.
Oh, okay. So I'm just going to share just about from one of our partner schools. Can I see share screen? Okay, yes, I can. Um, so this would be the general requirement for people who have RN. Okay, here we go. All right, so one of our schools is the Long Island University, and they have a few campuses. For people who don't generally have anything, they can still come into and do nursing. But basically their WAEC must be a decent in math and English, must be decent. But if they already have RN, they will not need to do a full say 4 years. It's going to be an accelerated program now, and it could be something much shorter in terms of the whole thing. It would take a year and a half most of the time, or 2 years. So generally, you would just need the RN certificate and the transcript are the normal things one would need in order to apply. If you have RN, I see some people with RN. So those would be the main thing needed, the RN certificate and also the transcript. And one can get into a shorter, which is an accelerated form of the bachelor's to get bachelor's of nursing at the end of the day. If someone has bachelor's already, they can go into masters. And one of them is the, yes, here we go. This one, apologies, one more time. Okay. All right, so we've got quite a few schools as well for masters. One of them is the Madonna University. We have Drew University, we have George Mason. There's quite a long list, and we do have some on the website. of our website, our EC Education website. But I just usually will just want to pick one or two of them just to show what we can provide. So normally with a BSN, in order to apply, you would need the BSN degree itself and the transcript. Other things are usually much smaller in terms of what's needed, like you need your WIAC, you need the CV. Those are sort of like smaller things to get. But usually I know, especially people who finish from Nigeria, getting the transcript is usually a headache. That's why I always mention it in the beginning. So they've got to go work on that. On a general level, we've got the BSc. One would need at least a second class lower, something decent in terms of the CGPA. With that, we can always get a master's degree, but we'll need to, in some cases, we'll need to get specialization. In this case, it's family nursing, but there's general nursing as well. There's different types that one can do, but these would be the main requirements. All you need is to have a decent score in your the BSc, or if it's the RN, and the certificates and the transcripts, and we can move that forward. In terms of the school options, I could list quite a few, but I would I can put some in the group, in the chat, sorry. And also, I believe we may get some contact and we can send this out later. But some people want a specific location, some want specific location because the US is quite big. So yes, we do have quite a few number of schools within the US, from like I said, Long Island to New England College, George Mason, University of Arizona, Arizona State University. So along the line, though some of them, the requirements may be different, but based on what each person wants in terms of the location, we can also consider that when choosing a school. But overall, when it all comes down to it, what we need are the credentials. And once we have those credentials, we can generally put applications through and get admissions. One thing, the usual intake is September. They do have which is the fall intake. And then they also have, a lot of schools would have a January intake, which is the winter intake. That's one thing to know. In terms of tuition fees, school fees can range, depending on the school, from 15,000 to 30 or $40,000 a year, depending on the school. So if the per year, so for a BSN person going for masters, will be a 2-year course, masters now. That means you'll be ready to cough up money for 2 years. The same thing goes for someone with a bachelor, with an RN, going for a BSN. If it's longer than a year, it will be stated anyways in the offer letter. But beforehand, we could always say, look, this is the tuition, this is what you're going to pay as deposits. Before you make a commitment to the school, it's always good to be clear about what it will take in general. I am wondering if there's I'm assuming most of our people would have degrees from Nigeria, even if they're not in Nigeria, they would have degrees from Nigeria. So this general requirements would apply to everyone, from what I can see here. There's some people from Ghana as well. It's the same thing with Ghana. Ghana and Nigeria are very similar. So the requirements are the same generally. We recruit from Ghana as well to other countries too. It's usually the same requirements, no major differences. For some people who don't have a nursing background, they can still get into it. Someone who has a BSc or even an HND in something else, you can still get a bachelor's application into BSc, into nursing, sorry. That's also very possible. The good thing is a lot of schools do want you to be a graduate. A lot of schools want you to already be a graduate, so they can give you that bachelor's degree. So it's still very possible. I see someone in here that has an HND in mass communication. That's still possible. Okay. I'm just seeing some of the questions here. I think we can address a few of them. My husband's an electrician. They have no certificates. How can they work as an electrical engineer in the US? Well, generally, that's a bit different now, but if someone wants to go into electrical engineering, they will still need to go through school. If they have no certificate, probably best to still apply to go through school if you want to work in the US. That's what I would advise. And A diploma in mental health nursing. Well, okay, that's what you have, and a BSc in nursing. I would say go for masters in nursing. We're talking about the visa application as well. That visa application, when it comes to visa with the US, it's usually an interview. So if you already have a BSc, you put that in the visa application, they know that. So generally, I would always say the progression is best. So when you're progressing, you have a BSc, progressing to something higher, which is why I would suggest someone with a BSc in nursing goes for a master's in nursing. Major in anesthesia, that's still fine. I've talked about someone with an HND in mass comm who wants to do nursing. That's totally fine. You can get admission with a master in nursing. And you say you're currently in the US. I'm not too familiar with the immigration rules in terms of changing from visit visa to study visa. Um, Decency may have more information on that than I do. Then, okay, a BSN with a first class, waiting to take NCLEX. Oh, that's also this is his area of specialty. But
I'll talk
but
on that, after now. I'll just give you time to, pick those ones that you can
yeah,
answer, then I'll come in.
okay. Yes, someone has a BSc in cardiopathic nurse. That's really first, and wants to specialize in hospitality in nursing. That's also possible. We will just need to find a school that has this sort of specialty, because not everywhere, obviously not every school has like a limited number of specializations and all that. So you need to find which one has it and apply for that. It would be a master's, just like you have put it there. It would be a master's. That's just the best case to go. For those who want to sponsor some having ways, I'm not sure what that means. Any options for those who want to sponsor some having ways? I'm not, I'll just go on. If you can retype that, please, that would be good. Then BSN from schools in the US with scholarship. Yes, let's talk about scholarships. Scholarships are possible. There are generally two ways. One is the schools do give uh they do have like an appointed scholarship where sort of automatic, if you're from Africa or something, they can give you some sort of discount. And then but the most common is where people actually apply for the scholarships. And usually it's listed on the website. So if we're going together and we want to talk about, okay, I would like some scholarship, we'll look through and see if you do qualify for those scholarships. They're usually merit-based. Someone has a BSc first class, that kind of person now can apply for that scholarship, for instance. So they're usually merit-based before someone can actually get something. What of Canada? Yes, Canada is also possible. We do have people who get into Canada for nursing as well, with their WIEG, with a bachelor's. It's possible to apply to get into, say, nursing. Usually people start with nursing foundation. That's also possible. Experience with decent score on BSc. Sorry. What if you have a diploma in nursing and BSc and postgraduate diploma in business admin, but want to continue progress in nursing, like a BSc to MSc? You already have a diploma in nursing. Okay, but the BSc and the PGD are in business admin, and you want to continue in nursing and not go on with the business admin. I would say with a diploma in nursing, you can go on to towards a bachelor's in nursing. That's still possible. If that's the career path you want to follow, that's very possible. So yes, Marianne, is the visa success rate high? It generally is high. First, on a general level, a lot of these countries need nurses. So it's one that they're in demand of. So they're a little bit more open than some of the courses. Um, but I think generally once one prepares as much as possible anyways for the interview, it's usually a decent rate. What if you have BSc psychology? Yes, again, we've had people who had BScs in other areas and then they went on to do nursing. So some people would start with associate degree, like a 2-year course first in nursing, and then another 2 years. The way the US works, 4 years generally. So the first two and some people will pause there, get an associate degree, and then another 2 to get a BSc. So you can come from something else and go into nursing. People are allowed to change careers, so that's allowed. It would be good if, for instance, you had some sort of work, even if it's volunteer, something that relates to health. That would always help. Can you provide sponsorship for masters in nursing? We don't sponsor people at all. Sorry, every single person that comes, they get private funding. I want to know someone who has passed NCLEX and waiting for ID. Yeah, and waiting for ID. Will it be possible to apply for study visa? I'm gonna leave that one to Decency as well, the NCLEX part. And then someone who had a degree in accounting, can he study electrical engineering or computer science for masters? Depends on your work experience. If your work experience is leaning towards one of these 2 areas, then yes, we can try it based on the work experience. But based on the first degree, no, that's not a natural progression. So it would have to be a natural progression based on your work experience. So hopefully you have been working in computer science or electrical engineering, then we can try and push for a master's in the US. For the US, by the way, your CGPA needs to be decently high. Like generally, you need to have a high 2.2, so 2.75 generally would be able to get a master's or PGD. Anything lower than that is usually a headache. So for instance, someone who has a 3rd class, usually a headache to get admission, even for postgraduate diploma. Can someone go to the US with study visa and after getting an MSc or PhD goes into clinical work? Can someone go into US for study visa and then after getting MSc goes into clinical work? Decency, would you maybe?
Yes. I think what this person is asking is, can somebody come into the US and do a program in nursing and then afterwards get a job? That is correct. I think yes, that is the essence of coming here. So the intent of going through the study route is actually that when you're done, you'll be able to benefit from some of the visa options that we've been talking about, like the NIW, National Interest Waiver. You can actually apply for that. There are H-1Bs that you can also apply for while in the US. Some of the employers can also employ you and then do an EB3 visa for you. So it's a whole lot of options that you will have once you go through that study visa option, study route. But I'm trying to even work on getting one of our immigration attorney in the house today, so that after Funsho, then he comes to take on some of the immigration questions, because the idea is that you come to the US through the study route, but not that when you come to the US, we just leave you hanging or leave you to fend for yourself or find your way by yourself. We want to be able to come in also when you're done with schooling or prior to the time that you finish school. We'll start working on processing you to get your necessary documents to be able to live here as either a permanent resident or maybe other visa options that are available. Okay, so thank you, Funsho. I think you still have some questions that pertains to you.
Yes, someone said if we can list some affordable US schools. Yeah, as we go on, I will find some of the lowest ones and put them in the chat, at least 3 or so. Are there any list of affordable schools? Okay, the same thing for masters in nursing. Okay, yeah. Again, I'll put that in. Is retrogression affecting study visa? I'm going to leave that also to Decency. I have a B1, B2 visa, but I'm yet to use it. I just changed my mind to apply for F1 visa. If I apply for F1, seeing that I'm yet to use the B1, will that pose an issue with immigration? I have had something similar to this before, but it's not an issue per se, because you can go for an F1 visa even if you're on B1, B2, which you haven't used. But I do think if you've been able to get a B1, B2 visa, you do stand a good chance of getting an F1 visa as well. So I don't think it's going to be an issue at all. But I would say, just an advice, if you could visit the US for, just visit real quick, come back in and then put in for the F1, just to show that visa travel history. Unless you've done that before, then there's no need. But if it's the first time, I'd say just get that travel history first and then do the F1. Chika says Montclair University offers a 2-year MSN program for HND and BSc holders with some nursing prerequisites. Yes, I know of the Montclair, and yes, 2-year courses. They require 3.0 or higher CGPA. That is also accurate, I believe. So yeah, thank you, Chika. Yep. After I'm done with the MSc in nursing, do I still need to write NCLEX? Well, so that's the last one on that one at the moment, which I was asked, and the NCLEX
Yeah.
is the
So
right.
even if you come here to do your MSc in nursing, you will still need the NCLEX for you to be able to get your license. So NCLEX is what gives you the privileges to practice nursing in the US. Even if you have gotten to the level of being a professor in nursing anywhere in the world, for you to come here and work, you have to be a board certified registered nurse, which means you have to write the NCLEX exam. All right, I think that was it. I think you have one more question, Mr. Funjo.
Okay. Sorry, let me see. Where is that? As someone who had diploma in nursing and midwifery, but degree in BSc health education, go for masters in nursing. That's a good question, but normally, the requirement for the MSc is usually a nursing bachelor's. However, in my line of work, I have seen that we don't know everything. You will still find one or two cases where they've given someone like this, someone who has a BSc in health education who's gotten a master. So I'm not too certain if we cannot get one, but I think we can check. However, having a diploma in midwifery can help. Chioma says, do I need WES for master's degree in nursing? Not necessarily. In fact, most of the schools we do not need us to do WES at all. I think 90% of the schools do not need us to. I generally run from schools that are requiring our students to do WES. Just takes time. So, but normally we're able to send our degree and transcript or what have you to the school directly and not necessarily through WES. Is it possible to write NCLEX RN during the product of study masters? I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, it's possible. So now let me just chip in something there. So what happens, what we are really, trying to do here is to be able to get registered nurses who are anywhere in the world, in Africa, just get them to the US. But the original intent is to make sure that even before they get to the US, once this visa application and study visa is ongoing, we also start processing your registration with the board here in the US. So that by the time you arrive in the US, it's almost time for you to write your exam. You might have just like 1 or 2 months. So you do your NCLEX exam, you pass your NCLEX exam, we will get you a job as a registered nurse here in the US. So that way, the 20 hours work visa that you have, work authorization that you have as a student, you can use it and work in a proper hospital and get US experience. Okay. And then when the school is not in session, you can actually work full 40 hours and get some even overtime. Okay. So that's the intent. So we want to make it this way so that it will be possible for you to be able to get enough money to be able to take care of yourself while in the US because you're doing a decent job, not just coming here, not having anything, doing many jobs, and then finances will become a problem. All right. So that's to answer that question. Exactly. That's what we are working on. And then the attorney has confirmed that he will be here shortly. All right.
There's one there again. The next one actually for you as well. Is it possible to test for NCLEX immediately you get to the US?
Yes, it's very, very possible. It's very possible. Once you get that visa and come in here as a student, you can walk into any test center and do your exam and come out. We're actually not saying this because we don't have knowledge. There are people who have already done it, and then Funsho here has done a lot of visa processing for a lot of people who are in the US already. So their company has been in the system for almost 7 years that I've known him. So we have done it as well. We've seen people who come in here as a student and they've been able to get their NCLEX done and they're working as registered nurses. So in some of my platforms, you will see there's some of the testimonies. Some of them are actually people who are here in the US as students. I know one lady, I can't remember her name right now, but when I remember her name, I'll tell you. So you can go look it up on our YouTube or on our Facebook. Those ladies were here as students. They did their NCLEX, they passed, and they are still here. They are still doing their thing, and they already got their visas because as a registered nurse, once you have started working for a hospital as a student, at that point where you have finished your school, or even when you get the job working as a student there, they can start, even the job can start filing for your immigration papers. It doesn't take them anything. If you get a proper job with a hospital that promises that they will start it immediately, you get in the workforce with their facility. Okay.
Okay. I was trying to see there was someone who dropped something about NCLEX earlier on, in case we missed it, but that's the person who has a first class. They're saying they are waiting to write NCLEX, so that's fine. Yes, we have that. Okay. MSU accept all bachelor's and HND degrees from all discipline. Oh, thank you again, Chica. That's the Montclair State University. How much sponsorship are we looking at? So that's a funding thing. So depending on the school. So tuition, usually, so the way it works is say you apply, you get admission. The next thing really normally would be to pay school fees. So if the school fees is about say $20,000, the school will need you to pay some part of that deposit. So say you pay half of it. Then the living expense also, normally it's indicated in the I-20. After payment, the school will issue you an I-20, which is used for visa application. But the living expense usually varies because of the location in the US. It's not one, like say maybe the UK, for instance, where they have one fixed living expense for. So it kind of varies. But on a general level, I say another $20,000, $25,000 would be fine. I've got some 3 schools I'm going to list here for those, some of the school fees that are a bit like lower than $20,000 for per year for school fees. This would be considered the cheaper ones, the ones that are standard like 34, 35, some 40. So I will list those. Do you have any schools you work with specifically? Yes, we have a lot of schools we work with specifically, and I'm only mentioning ones that we do work with. I generally wouldn't go with schools that we don't have any relationship with. Please, can someone come with his or her family with the study visa? That's called the F2 visa. So yes, spouses can apply. If the student is applying, spouse can also apply. It's called the F2 visa. Please, what's the possibility of getting a student visa in the US? It's possible, it's still doable, and that's literally why we can do something like this, because people get visas to study in the US. Are we starting the process? When are we starting the process? I think this is for you, Decency, but I'm gonna assume generally once we have documents, we can start moving for us.
Some people have started already, right? I've sent you some people and
Yes,
they already started. So
we already have people who are already working with some of our people in Abuja and Lagos office. We have 5 offices, by the way. Port Harcourt, Abuja, Lagos, Ibadan, and Kano office. Yeah, usually if someone is not in any of these places, we'll just sort of relate with the closest or the one they're more comfortable with. So even if they're not in Nigeria, there are people we don't even meet, don't know what they look like. We do from the beginning to the end till they get a visa. That's generally the process. How much will it cost for someone that's not a nurse but want to study and work? The fee is the same, even if you're not a nurse. The fee is the same generally for anyone. If you're a nurse trying to study a BSN or trying to study a master's, or if you have communications background and you want to go into nursing, the fee is the same generally. Yes, Chika put there the full meaning of MSU Montclair. How quick can the process be? I'm personally looking at admission for 2025, but someone told me that it may not be possible because it's difficult to get visa interview dates. Yeah, so for the visa application, so for the schools themselves, September, you can get admission. January 2025, you can get admission. For the visa application, the main headache, yes, is interview dates. But what we do, the embassy has the provision to request for an emergency date. So if you get a date, say it's 2025 July now, but your school starts in September, you can request for an emergency date, and they would grant that and give you a much closer date. That's before your intake, so you can apply for that visa. So I wouldn't say January 2025 is not possible. No, no, no. That's even September this year is still possible. How much will it cost for someone that's never, oh, so I've read that before. Must students go to school on daily basis, or can they do distant learning? You can't really do distant learning per se. That's like not going to school at all, basically, or online. No, the whole point of this is to apply, get a visa, go there. But you don't need to go to school every day. A lot of schedules for classes are not scheduled every single day. So there will be some time off, sort of. There's no school with cheaper tuition than the one you mentioned. So this sort of the cheaper tuition is also relative. Some people would think maybe 10,000 is the cheap version. Some people think 15,000 is cheap. So, but on the general, the range would be from that 15,000 and up. So the cheaper tuition would be schools that are closer to, for instance, I think I've got one here that's one second, what's the name again? Montana State University, 16,000. That's one of the lowest ones we have, really. I think I said I'll write the names out. I'll write the names out and drop them. Yeah, school. Will you provide the name of the universities you work with so that we can apply, we can get the admission? Where do we send the requirements to? Right. So I will be sharing on the screen our contact details just now, and where to email or call, or just basically our contact details. If the best way to do it is usually if we send you a list of requirements. So we usually would send it out in form of, well, number one, CV, number two, BSc, number three. We would send out a list of requirements so that you can put those together and then send them in, and we can then start. So I will share that now, anyways. Are we going to be the one helping us with? Are you going to be the one helping us to put the application? Yes. That's literally why we're here. That's literally why we're introducing ourselves to you. We would be the ones to say, take the documents from you and then push it through to the schools. Yeah. Does age count? Not at all. It can be, it can be 70 and still do this. Will we pay tuition before getting to the US? Yes. Yes, there are schools that would not request for tuition, actually. A lot of them would ask, some would ask for a small amount of payment, some would ask for 1,000 or 2,000. But yes, there are schools that will not ask for tuition. The problem usually is when it comes to visa, it doesn't always fly.
Yeah.
It doesn't always fly when it comes to that visa. Because
That's
they would
true.
ask, have you paid any tuition? And you haven't paid any. It doesn't look like you're genuine, and that usually leads to a visa rejection. So we always advise people come, they be ready to pay a deposit to the school. That's just the best case. All right. So there's a number. This message dropped the number there. Please chat that number up to start the process. Right after that, we can pass that on to us, and then we'll take it up. But yes, that's what we're here. We're going to help with the whole process, and beginning to end. General process is we get the documents, apply to school, and then after that is paying tuition. After paying tuition, I-20, then visa application, which will also help with the whole getting the date and that. Yeah. But what if you pay and don't get visa? Well, this applies to everywhere in the world. If this could be the UK, this could be, Canada. If you pay tuition and you don't get a visa, you get a refund. It's stated in the refund policy when you get an offer letter. It's just standard practice. And that's why you do good locations like the US. I don't know what the plane obtains in like Thailand or what have you. They'll hold your money, but in the places we do, if you don't get a visa, you get a refund of your tuition. Will the tuition be refunded if the visa is not given? Yes. Yes. Same thing, Precious and Saigo would have asked. Yes.
Okay.
How can we get in touch with the student loans organization? Wait, we don't have student loan organizations per se, really. Again, most of the people that come to us, they have their private funds for this. Can one with a bachelor's in guidance and counseling education study an MSc in nursing? Again, yes, that is possible. It's possible. I think if you have a decent CGPA, we can apply and see what comes out. How many installments are tuition fees paid? That varies with the schools. It's not one standard way, but I would say 2, 3 times. A lot of schools would accept that for the year, at least. What's the average time period? What's the average time period of this period?
I think it's this process. That's what she wanted to say.
Oh, okay. Um, I mean, everything takes a few months. From getting your documents to applying to the school, coming back. The schools can, depending on the school can take from a week to a month or 2 months, depends on the school. So, if so, for instance, when March, sorry, it's still possible to get it done for September, right? Let alone people who would go in January. So it's something that's still doable within the space of 6 months or so. What's the average time? What's the possibility of going with a dependent? That is possible in terms of the F2 visa. Yeah, they can apply for an F2 visa. Is there any need for POF? Proof of fund? Yes. For visa application, you will need to show bank statements from a sponsor, parents, whoever is sponsoring. They would need to give you a bank statement. Normally now, embassy would, if they want to give you a visa, they will just ask to hold on to that. They'll just ask to hold on to that bank statement and then tell you to come back, late at a later time, because they do go and check and stuff. Do they ask for proof of funds? The embassy would ask for proof of funds. Schools also ask for proof of funds, by the way. Yes. So some schools in the beginning they will ask. Some schools in the beginning, some schools will be after you have an offer, then they will ask you for proof of funds. How much? I would say people should, for the lowest part, in terms of tuition and living expense, $35,000 thereabout. That's together. That would be the lower end. Else it would be a little bit more than that, $40,000 or so. Other schools that offer direct entry from HND to BSc. Yeah, HND to BSc. Yeah, HND to BSc, you can apply for that. As long as you're ready to do a year or 2 years, sure. Please, that's for Benedict. Pressures ask, can one with bachelor's degree in biochem apply for nursing or med lab? Yes, those are all related. Biochem can go med lab, can also do the nursing. Please, does this admission process apply for a master's degree in nursing? Yes, yes, yes. We are talking about that, Okoye Noble, about generally going for a master's in nursing in the US and bachelor's in nursing in the US. Yes. Do schools have accommodation? Yes, they have accommodation. They have campus accommodation and then obviously ones outside. We can always apply. We do help with accommodation on campus ones. The off-campus, not so much. It's usually very private. For grown-ups, they would rather be off campus most of the time. How many years or months is required when showing proof of funds? 6 months generally, yeah, is required when showing proof of a bank statement. Just print the 6 month bank statement. It's not that. So let's say they ask you to show $35,000. It's not that the 35 should have been there for the whole 6 months. If it is, fine, that's good. But the closing balance should be 35. And the other thing is, you you don't want an account that has maybe 200,000 naira, 400,000 naira, 300,000, then all of a sudden has 30 million in a go or two. They generally frown at that in terms of the embassy. So it's better to build it up, and that's the best case. Do you have do you have organizations that can give study loans with low interest? Fortunately, we don't. The ones I am familiar with, I'm not sure about their interests. I don't know what that's about. And usually they even do it for schools in the UK, and only like 5 schools or 6 schools or something like that. They don't do, it's not like a general thing. I can't remember their name at the moment. No, it's not, can't help there much, sorry. How much is the service? Yes, we do have a service charge. Good to know. It's 200,000. That's what we charge from beginning to end. We don't ask for any single thing apart from that. And some people break it, some people pay it at once. Well, that's it. Yeah. I'm gonna share that stuff real quick. Like new schools that are not too expensive. Right. While I think Decency, you're gonna go on talk about the NCLEX. I'm just gonna put this up while that happens. Where is it?
All right. So thank you so much. If your question wasn't, really captured the way you want, you can request to speak and we can give you an opportunity to, speak to us so you can express yourself very well and we'll understand the area that your question was going and then maybe be able to throw more light to it. Okay. So that's that. Or while Mr. Funsho is trying to get us more information, I just wanted to speak a little bit more about NCLEX. So NCLEX is a professional exam that registered nurses write here in the US. And for you to be able to write that exam, you must have been a registered nurse in another country. And by that, we mean that whatever qualifications you hold in another country has to be verified from some of the agencies that we use here in the US. Some of those agencies are agencies like CGFNS. We have Joseph Cioni, we have ERESRS. So some of the agencies, what they do mainly is just to, report to the Board of Nursing that you're applying to, just to say that this person has a registered nurse license in his home country or her home country, and then that the license is equal to a new grad here in the US. So it's gonna be like you're coming in as a new grad. And that's why I was talking about your US experience. If you are a student, if you come in here as a student in the nursing field, if you have written your NCLEX and passed, you can start gathering your US experience as much as possible. It's far more better than just coming in 5 years later without any experience. You are going to be paid low because one of the things that US experience does to you is that, by the time they check how they're going to pay you, they would pay you based on your experience, and they count your US experience more than they would count your outside experience that you got outside of the United States. Okay, so that's that. And if you want to go into things like this, if you want to go into this kind of opportunities, study visa, one of the things I would like you to do is to reach out to us, and we would forward your name, because we want to keep track of the people that we're sending to Mr. Funsho, and as well, not just keeping track. We want to be able to continue to work with you guys when you come over to the United States to make sure that you're able to secure your appropriate documents to be able to stay here permanently. And it's not a process that is going to end in a day. So proper flow needs to be maintained while this is going on. So we don't have people who just come out and say we were with you, or something like that. So just reach out to us on that number, and then we would ask a few questions, and then you would go straight to Mr. Funsho. You'll be referred to Mr. Funsho, and we will still be corresponding with you together with our legal, our attorney will also be corresponding with you as well, based on, getting you the appropriate documents to stay here in the US. All right, so Lua Shehun, I will give you, I've asked you to unmute, so I've given you permission to speak. I think you wanted to add more, ask a question. So you can unmute yourself and then speak now, please.
Okay, good afternoon, Buzzy. And good afternoon, Mr. Funsho. My question still goes on the tuition thing thereabouts. that he was saying something about $35,000. So I want to ask, is it compulsory you have the whole $35,000 with you before moving in? Then,
okay, go on.
okay, is it compulsory you have the whole $35,000 with you before moving in? Then, when you talk about tuition, you were talking about from RN to BSN, you have like I even thought it was a year, it would be a year course, like a top up that UK do. But with this now, it's so glaring that you were saying something about a year, or 2 years or 18 months. That's a year and a half. So are you paying the tuition fee per semester or per year?
Okay. All right. Thank you. There are two questions there. The first one is about I think it's about the living expenses. When I mentioned 35,000, if you should have that before you go, something like that. The main thing with that is you need to show it. It's proof of funds. You're not paying it to anyone yet, or you're not paying it to anyone. It's the proof of funds that we're referring to there. So schools also want to see the uh, they ask for your bank statements. Let's see your bank statement to show your living expense and the school fees, which the embassy will also ask for. So that is why you will still need to have that before you get to that point. Before you get to the embassy, you need to have that to show that. But you're not paying that money to them at once or anything like that. So in terms of the school fees are generally paid per semester and not per year. Yeah. So you are right. Even if it's a year and 18 months, you would still pay per semester. Uh, and sometimes it's even smaller than that. Some schools would allow you to maybe break the semester into two, that sort of thing. So tuition is paid per semester, and living expense will need to be shown, yes, before you can travel. You obviously need to present proof of funds to the embassy. So you need to have that in your account.
Okay. Oluwaseun, I hope the question was properly dealt with. I would, as I've asked Christy, I've asked you to unmute and ask your question. And here are some of the cheaper schools that Mr. Funsho is projecting. I hope everybody's seeing it so you can, look at the schools. I think he wants to also paste it on the comment section.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so someone, Samsung SM, I don't know who that is, but you can unmute and ask your question.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very fine. This is Akbaroge Chukwu.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been the one calling. Like I said, I'm presently in the US with a visiting visa. So trying to see how I can change it to student visa, and I don't know how you help me out of it, sir.
Obaroge Chukwu, I think we've talked before, right? Have we?
Yeah, severally, but there's not been any answer.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I got busy. All right, so I'm going to forward. Just reach out to me again on my number, and I would, get some details from you and then send it to Funsho, and we can start off immediately. The major thing here is to get you to get an admission and change your B1, B2 to a student status, and then we'll go from there. Okay, and that has to be done very fast, depending on we don't want you to be out of status. If you're out of status, it complicates the whole thing for us. So we want to make sure that this is done as soon as possible. So on your own, while this is going on, also make sure that you have at least your some of your tuition fees ready, so that once this is done, tuition is not going to be a problem. We can pay for the tuition and get you started immediately. Okay.
All right. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
I'll be expecting your chat.
I'll call you immediately after the meeting, please.
All right, sounds good. All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
And Oluwashehun, you still raised your hand. Is this something that you want to clarify? Oh, okay, that has been removed. Christy, you can unmute now.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir. Just the same with what that other lady just said. Mine is quite similar, but in the sense that I've gotten admission, right?
Okay. We can't hear you again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're hearing you now.
Yes. So I might need to leave the UK ASAP because our sponsor license got revoked, and I've gotten a B1, B2. It was just issued in February. However, on the second thought, I was like, oh, if our sponsor license has been revoked from the UK, why not just move to the US on a B1? But the thing is that I already have admission, so I would like to switch, just like what that lady said. I would like to switch once I get there. Do you
Okay.
understand what I'm saying, sir?
Yeah. I understand that. So still the same thing. If you have my number, reach out to me. If you don't, there's a number on the comment section. Reach out to that number and then the person can direct you to me. All right. And then we can get on some conversations and on how to do that. And I know there's a lot of people that has similar situations, and I believe you're a registered nurse, right? Right, Christy? Hello, Christy.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're a registered nurse, right?
I'm not a registered nurse, no.
Okay, you
I'm a
went there as
lawyer.
a carer.
I'm a lawyer.
Oh, okay.
I'm a lawyer, but I have vast experience even in the UK in human resources.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. Okay, sounds good. So what we will do in that case is once you get in here, link up with us. It will create time for you to speak or consult with our immigration attorney, one-on-one. And then we would for the fact that you've already gotten your admission, we're not talking about admission anymore. It's just that when you get into the US, on the point of entry, they're going to give you like a 6 months stay. Like the maximum time you can stay in the US for that point in time is 6 months. So anything you need to do it within that 6 months. Do the application, change of status, anything you want to do, you have to do it within that 6 months. There's possibility of an extension if maybe you feel like you need more time to still stay in the US. You can extend that 6 months to like 1 year, but 1 year is the max. So we need to make sure that all this process and processes are all done within that time frame. Okay, so
Okay. Thank
just
you very much, sir.
let us know. Yeah, let us know when you get here.
Okay, should I know? So should I send a message to that number? Should I chat that
Yes,
number up on WhatsApp?
yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Yeah.
Okay, bye.
All right. I have another one. Hope in God. Hope in God. You can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Decency and Mr. Fisher. Hello, are you hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. My question is if it's possible for one spouse to go with him, well, with her or him, and if that spouse will be allowed to work while the student continues with his studies.
Yeah. So this is F1, F2, visa category, right, Mr. Funsho?
Yes, correct. So yes, the spouse can work while they're on F2. That's allowed. It's part of law. So the primary applicant can be studying and also working, and then the spouse can work on the F2 for sure.
Yeah. And that's the thing, that's the beauty of it, because we are talking about having all this money in your bank account, sitting there. We know how things are. It's possible that you might not have all the money. You might have other options of raising the money, but once you're able to secure the admission, secure the visa, and come here, I think if you have a spouse, you have more advantage, because your spouse can work full-time while you work part-time, which is you work that 20 hours and do your thing while your spouse is working full-time. So with that, you have every opportunity to be able to, shoulder the responsibility of paying tuitions and also taking care of the home, So that's just what I wanted to add. Who else I think we've seen Marian Osaye, I've asked you to unmute and ask your question.
Okay. Hello.
Yes.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Okay.
you.
Thank you for organizing this. We really appreciate it. I wanted to find out, I had asked earlier, but I was at work, so I didn't really get his reply. to the message I sent. I'm a nurse. I'm a registered nurse with a diploma in nursing. But proud to nursing, I had a BSc in geography and a postgraduate degree in business administration. So I want to know, like, what's the clear pathway? Like, can I do a BSc, MSc, or do I have to just, is it possible to do a master's direct in nursing?
So if I may ask, in nursing, you had a little bit of geography, and also you have some diploma in nursing, which I believe.
Business,
What are you working with
yes.
now? Are you working with your geography?
I'm a registered nurse.
A registered nurse,
No,
right?
I'm a registered nurse. I'm working as a nurse. Yeah, yes,
Okay,
yes.
all right. So now, what are you hoping to achieve? Are you trying to get back to geography, or you want to continue in
No,
nursing
no,
pathway?
continue in nursing, definitely,
Good.
definitely.
So in that case,
Continue
you
in
should.
nursing pathway.
Yeah, in that case, you should. I know you've gotten your PGD already, but what I would really recommend is that you go through the nursing pathway, which is you've gotten your diploma. Then the next thing should be you getting your BSc, your bachelor's. Okay, so you apply for your bachelor's in the US, you get your bachelor's. If you want to continue to nurse practitioner, DMP, you can all do that. That's not a problem, but because of that pathway you've already created, then you have to follow the course. All right.
Bachelor's, yeah.
So we have our immigration attorney here, Mr. Douglas. He's just joined us now. Mr. Douglas, I don't know
Okay,
if you
then,
can. Yeah, give me 1 second. Mr. Douglas,
hello.
I don't know if you're right here with us. If you can hear us, so we can spotlight you for everyone. Let's see, Mr. Douglas. Spotlight. Okay, I think he's still connecting. Okay, go ahead, Marian.
Okay, like, will it not affect the visa process that I already have a postgraduate and I'm going for a BSc?
Oh,
No,
you shouldn't.
no.
No, Mr. Fisher, go ahead.
Yeah, no, not in this case. You are in the career of you're in a nursing career, and your highest qualification in this nursing career is that you're a registered nurse. You don't have a BSc, yes, in nursing.
Yes.
Really,
No.
the best thing to do would be to go get that BSc in nursing. It's not going to affect because you already have something else in geography or what have you. No, it's not going to affect that at all. Best case will still be
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Marian. And we have Isioma. Isioma, your question, and I think you'll be the. You can ask your question. I've asked you to unmute, Isioma. Thank you, Marian, for your question. That question. Isioma, can you unmute and ask your question?
Okay. All right. Good evening, sirs. So I want to ask a question. Like, somebody sent this link to me. If you want to come to US as a registered nurse, so how do you go by the process? How do you apply, like, coming through agency?
If you want to come to the US as a registered nurse, and
Yes.
have you written the NCLEX yet?
No, not yet. Just
Not
a registered nurse in Nigeria.
Oh, okay. So the
A
first thing
midwife.
to do, are you a registered midwife or a registered nurse?
Yes.
Because they are two different things.
Midwife.
Okay, just the midwife one, right?
Yes.
You don't have
Yes.
any nursing degree. No, sorry, nursing diploma.
I went to school of nursing, then I went to midwifery.
So you are a registered nurse and a registered midwife.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. So what is the basics? The only thing that you need to do at this point is to get your NCLEX done. And it goes with the process. So there's a number that I dropped. If you want to start the process, you can link up with us. We have dedicated specialists that we can assign to you. The same person will monitor your process, ensure that you do everything that you need to do. You get your authorization to test. You go to either India, Philippines, Brazil, South Africa, and write your exams, your NCLEX exam. Then you come back to Nigeria and we would start your immigration processes, okay? So that's how it goes. So you just have to follow that pathway of writing your NCLEX, and once you're done with NCLEX, we would start doing the immigration petition. But the immigration petition is for both you and your dependents. So if you're married, your husband, if you have children, everybody gets to travel with you, and when you come here, you're not coming as a student. On that one, you're coming as a or someone who has somebody who's going to work. So you would have your green card to be able to work. And then I think that reminds me. So the H1Bs that we've been talking about, maybe Mr. Douglas will talk about it again today, but we got some good news. The early selections has been done, and we had 3 people that we filed for that has already gotten their H1B visa. So those people will be coming to the US sooner than every other person who is affected by retrogression. So Isioma, if you want to follow that pathway, it's also good. If you want to go through the academics pathway or the study visa, that's also one thing that you can do. You can come in here through study, do your study, and after doing your studies, you can get your you can start working on changing your status from student to either getting your EB3 through an employer or doing other visa routes, NIWs, and the rest of them. All right. So Mr. Douglas is here. I don't know if he wants to add something to what we just said. Mr. Douglas, I've asked you to unmute, sir.
There you go. Yeah, I couldn't unmute before, but
oh, sorry.
No problem.
So Mr. Douglas, I have Funsho. Funsho Damilola is a friend. He's been a friend for a long time now. So he's in Nigeria, and he does these admissions for nurses, students, and all that. So we brought him.
Yeah, good morning, sir. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
So Mr. Funsho, that's Mr. Douglas, our friend and an immigration lawyer based in Arizona, USA.
All right. Pleasure, sir. I think.
So, Mr. Douglas, there is a question that Isioma asked about, coming to the US. So, the part that I wanted you to add something on is when they come as a student to the US, what options are there for them in terms of regularizing their papers, becoming a legal permanent resident in the US?
Well, obviously they're going to get an F1 visa when they come as a student, and then when they complete their course, they get a 1-year OPT, and after the OPT, they could. I mean, it's a matter of strategizing it, because at the end of the OPT, you're not going to have any other status, right? And if you wait till your OPT is completed before you get sponsored for an EB3, as you know, if retrogression persists, that's going to take a long time. And so between when you finish your OPT and when your priority becomes current, you're going to need to maintain some sort of status within that time, because you cannot get an employment authorization if you've been out of status. And so the suggestion really would be to when you pass the NCLEX, you get an agency to sponsor you, and then you start your OPT, and hopefully within that 1 year, the priority becomes current, and then you can apply for adjustment of status. So that's a general overview of the timeline, but the timing of it has to be managed properly, because if you ever go out of status within that time, you're ineligible to adjust status. You'd have to do what is called a consular processing, which means you have to leave the country and then apply for your EB3 from outside the country.
Okay. So we have someone who is a barrister, a lawyer in UK. She asked a question just shortly before you joined. Her question was she currently has a B1, B2 visa to the US, and she also has an admission already in the US, and her intention is to come in and study and also do some adjustment of status. So she's just asking, I think I saw some her question on the comment section. She's asking the difference between BB2 and NIW, or what kind of visa options are available for people who come in. If you're adjusting, what are they adjusting their visas to?
Well, I mean, I think I get the point of the question, but really it's a mistaken question, I guess, if you would, because the EB2 NIW is a total different visa category than what we're talking about there. So the EB2 NIW stands for National Interest Waiver, and EB2 is employment-based number 2, right? Like the EB3 is employment-based number 3.
Mhm.
And so there's the EB2, there's a couple of ways you can apply for it. You can do a self-petition, which means that you don't need an employer to sponsor you. You can sponsor yourself. If you decide to sponsor yourself, you need a national interest waiver, because the EB2 generally requires an employer sponsorship. And if you're asking USCIS to waive that employer sponsorship, that sponsorship can only be waived if it's in their interest of the country, right? That's why it's called a national interest waiver. Now, with the national interest waiver, there's one of two ways you can qualify. The first one is that you have to have somebody who has an advanced degree. Advanced degree, is described as anything that is equivalent to a bachelor's degree in America. Advanced degree plus experience, or you have to have exceptional ability. And you have to make the argument that you have an exceptional ability if that's what you want to do. But most people who apply for the EB2 NIW typically go the advanced degree route, because it's easier to say that I have a master's degree than to say I have exceptional abilities, right? One is easier to prove than the other one, So if you have an advanced degree, a law degree obviously is an advanced degree, and so you can use that to apply for the EB2. The catch, however, is that if the intention is to say, well, you have to identify what your endeavor is, the endeavor that you're coming to do in the US that will benefit the country. You have to be able to articulate that. And if you say that you're coming to America to practice law, how how exactly is that in the national interest is the first question. The second question is that you need a license to practice law in America. And so if you're licensed in a different country, obviously that license doesn't transfer here. And so for that matter alone, lawyers who are licensed in other countries necessarily do not qualify for the EB2 NIW. Now, I've applied for an EB2 NIW for a lawyer before, and I've been successful. The difference on that application is that the lawyer has a PhD in environmental law. And so the argument was not that they were coming to practice law. The argument was that they were coming to practice policy and environmental policy in relation to the law. So they're not necessarily practicing as lawyers, and that's how it's going to help the country, right? With climate change and all of these other things, that their policy research would help strengthen the US economy and prevent the catastrophes that come with climate change. So, EB2 NIW is not just filling out the application, right? It's one of those immigration petitions that you really have to make a legal argument, and you have to convince the officer that your qualifications are really in the interest of the country to be able to get approved.
All right. Thank you so much, Christy. I hope that question was well answered. And if you have any question concerning the study route, you can drop them on the comment section or just raise your hand and we'll let you. Okay, Christy is right here, and I think she has a follow-up question to ask. I've asked you to unmute, Christy. Yeah, Christy, you can unmute and ask your question.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Sorry for the barrage of questions. So thank you for the first part that was answered, the clarification for the EB2 NIW. Now, I have a B1 and I also have an admission, right? So my challenge now is switching from within. So I need that to be clarified as well. I already have an admission to even 2 schools at the moment. So it's just to know how I'm going to switch. One is for September. Both of them are for September intake. Yeah, so thank you.
Switch to what?
I believe is anything that takes the
F1.
student status away from her.
Yes, so anything that can make me stay back or to swap to F1.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in the country and you want to go from a B1, B2 to a different non-immigrant, B1, B2 obviously is a non-immigrant visa. And so if you're already in the country and you want to go from a B1, B2 to an F1 visa, the form is Form I-539. It's a application to change status. It's also the same application that you apply to extend your non-immigrant B1, B2 visa. So that's how you switch over. And you can only use that form if you're in the country.
Yes.
Obviously, if you're outside the country, you'd have to fill out the DS-160, go to the interview, get your F1 visa that way. But if you're already here and you want to switch over, that's the form you use. It's I-539.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much for this. I think I'll send some questions on over WhatsApp so that I don't take much of your time because I
No,
know
we can.
people.
I mean, that's why we're here, right? If you have
Yeah,
any
if you
questions,
have more, you can go ahead.
yeah, rather just talk about it now. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay, yeah. So I think that's just that switching from B1 to F1. And I also want to know the approval rates because I don't want to shoot myself in the leg.
Yeah, I mean, the going from B1, B2 to an F1 through the application to change your non-immigrant status is a really easy process. The people who get denied for that kind of application are people who have either violated some sort of immigration law in the past, or they've overstayed their visa, or if you don't, show that you have enough funds to be able to support yourself on the F1 visa. But I mean, there's a checklist of requirements for that. If you look on USCIS website, you can find what those checklists of required evidence are. And as long as you have all the evidence, it should be a pretty straightforward process. Obviously,
Okay.
I cannot give you a percentage or sort of a prediction on whether or not your application is going to get approved. But if you meet all of the requirements, I mean, I don't see why it would get denied.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you so
No
much for
problem.
this.
You're welcome.
Right, sounds good. Any more questions from the house before I go to comment section? If you have a question, I see Newton. Newton, you had a question, and I can't find you right now. If you want to raise up your hand again, and I would spotlight you for everyone, and you can get your question answered. While we are waiting for that, I will just read out a couple of questions in the comment section that needs your attention. I think this is for you, Mr. Funsho. Oh, you're muted. So how many years is BSN or master's degree in the US?
Between 1 and 2 years generally. It would vary with school. So some schools 1 year, some school 1.5, one schools 2 years. But the most common are 2 years. That's the most common. So between 1 and 2.
Yeah. All right, thank you so much. So between 1 and 2 years. Please, what's the limit? So someone is asking. I think this one would be for you, Mr. Douglas. Is asking. Sorry, I made everybody to mute. You cannot mute, sir. Okay. So somebody is asking, please, sir, that's a Google Pixel. Said, what is the age limit for dependent children?
Well, that's a good question. The USCI has got various age limits. There's 16, there's 18, and there's 21. But if you're applying for an immigrant visa and you want to immigrate with your family, the age limit is 21, right? So if, for example, you an RN who is coming to the US under the EB3 visa category, you're allowed to bring your spouse and all of your children under the age of 21. For the age of adoption, obviously that's 18. If you want to apply for your stepchild, the marriage, for you to qualify as a stepchild, the marriage must have happened before the child turned 16. So it depends on the application you're doing. There's 16, there's 18, there's 21. But generally, for nurses and people coming to the US with an immigrant visa is under the age of 21.
Okay. So this will be for you, Mr. Funsho. Say, can one make a choice of state in the US for study? And does your company cover all the state like Tennessee states?
I don't think we cover all the states. For instance, we don't have any school in Alaska. But we do have in Tennessee, there's Tennessee Tech University. It's actually not too, I think it's under 20,000 in terms of tuition. Yes, there's Tennessee Tech, and this would be for a bachelor's level. If Najita is asking in terms of masters, we may not be able to do Tennessee Tech, but for bachelor's, yes, we can do Tennessee Tech University.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. I can't even pronounce your name. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do that. So tongue twisting. So he's asking. He said, Bozia John Lay said, I would like to confirm, can a F2, someone with F2 work in the United States? I don't know, Mr. Douglas.
Well, the general norm is that if you're a derivative of a visa, your privileges cannot extend beyond that of the primary holder. That's the general norm. So, for example, there are several visa categories that their dependents are not allowed to work, and we talked about H-1B visas. If you come to the U.S. on an H-1B visa, the F-4 recipient cannot work. F-2 dependents are in the same category. So F-1 visa holders can only work 20 hours per week on campus. Therefore, F-2 visa holders cannot work, right? Because it would if you're given a work authorization as an F-2 visa holder, you have more privileges than the primary visa holder, and that isn't, and so, and I'm giving this long answers because I want you to think about the reason why these things exist. So F2 the short answer is no. F2 visas holder are not allowed to work, but the reason is because the primary holder can only work on campus for a certain amount of time.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. And I think this is for you, Funsho. He said, hoping God is asking, like, how much is administrative process before tuition fee is paid? And is it your charge that he's asking about?
So again, that's 200,000 naira, and that's it, flat.
Okay. All right. So Busayo is also asking, please, can I write my NCLEX in Nova Scotia? In Nova Scotia, I don't know what you mean by Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia is Canada. And if you're asking if you can write NCLEX in Nova Scotia, I don't know if you are in Nova Scotia right now. If you are, yes, you can write NCLEX anywhere we have NCLEX Center. You'll be able to write your NCLEX. Okay. And then James Maduako is asking, can someone who got diploma in 2008 apply for bachelor's degree in USA? I guess this is for you, Mr. Funsho.
As someone who got a diploma in 2000 apply for bachelor's degree, yes, they don't usually have any gap issues in terms of admission. Yes, 2008 and then doing a bachelor's, and now it's fine. They will process that.
All right, and then Choma Asomora is asking, when building your account for proof of fund, must it be a salary account? Choma, you're here, you're everywhere. Yeah, Mr. Funsho.
Oh, sorry.
About proof of fund, is it gonna be a salary account?
No, it does not have to be a salary account. So a lot of people use savings accounts, just an account they put money in for savings. So it does not have to be a salary account or anything special. Any regular savings account is fine.
Okay, sounds good. All right. I think that's all. If we didn't capture your question, because there's a way I went about. Oh, questions are popping in. So Rita. So Goodness is asking, please, can I apply for PhD? Do you also do application processes for PhD?
Well, yes, it's just that the thing with PhD, it's the main issue there is that you need a supervisor, and for courses that are low, I mean degree, bachelor's and master's, where you don't need a supervisor, we can apply straight to admissions, and we relate with admissions. We don't relate with faculties. So when it comes to PhD, you would need to speak to a supervisor. That means relating with someone in the faculty who would be interested in taking you on as to supervise you when you come on. So that's usually the part where we don't come in right away in terms of PhD. We would usually come in when the student already has a supervisor that's agreed to supervise them. Because again, we relate with the admissions, we don't relate with the faculty. Those people are special people. That's the way. But we can just talk you through what to do in the beginning and then take it up afterwards. That we can do.
Oh, sounds fair. Rita is asking, thanks so much for the insightful webinar. At the moment, I have B1, B2, and I have admission to two schools already. I would like to swap to F1 when I come in. My name is Farida Badamosi. Mr. Emeka in US referred your organization to, let's see. Okay, so to me, so I guess we've answered this question before. It's possible. That's what I believe I heard from what Mr. Douglas said. And then when you get here, we'll talk more on how to go about that. Rita said, okay, that's for Rita again. And do you have information about, that's Chinenye Paul, do you have information about re-entry program for nurses with Langara College? Please talk to us about it. I don't know about this. I don't know if any of my guests today have any information about Langara College re-entry program.
I'm not sure what the re-entry program is. I do know of the Langara College. What the re-entry program is, what I'm not too certain what they're asking about.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is either.
Yeah, so China, if you want to throw more light in that re-entry program and what you mean by re-entry program, we'll be able to answer that question. Yeah. So Mr. Douglas, you want to give us any update on the H1B that we filed recently? Most of them here are nurses, so
Sure. Give me 1 second. Obviously the selection process on the H1B is the initial selection process is completed, and it doesn't mean that that's the only process that they're still doing selections, and so far we have 6 out of 24 selections. The selections are not obviously, they're not a guarantee that you're going to get your H1B. So I want to make sure that people
yeah. But at least being selected gives us like a green light. We had 6. I was updated last on that page yesterday, and it was 3 as at yesterday. So it means selections are still ongoing, and we had 6 successful candidates that has been selected already. So we'll go ahead and start the next process, the next phase of that process.
Yeah. So these are the 6 people that have been selected. Some of these people are not on the webinar, obviously, but Mason was selected, Elham was selected. Juliet is I think one of yours, right? Decency.
Yes.
So Juliet and Numa was selected. Isaac is also another one. Glory. She was. Yeah, she was also selected, and then Uchechukwu was also selected, and Jessa Orozco selected. Now, these are the other ones that obviously you can see that it hasn't been denied. It hasn't been denied, and so we're still waiting on the second round of picks, and obviously I don't know whether or not more people are going to be selected, but so far we have 6 out of 24, which is pretty good considering there's millions of people who entered the lottery, and a bunch of people don't get it. So the next step from here, from this selection process, would be to, well, this is what the notice looks like. I'll just open Juliet since it's one of yours. Yeah, so this is what the selection process looks like. It just says registration selection. The company with the employer number and the beneficiary with their passport number has been selected. And this gives us the eligibility to actually apply for the H-1B visa itself. Now, the H-1B visa for nurses is a very tough sell, okay? And the reason it's a tough sell is because the H-1B petition is meant for occupations that are specialty occupations. And specialty occupations need at least a bachelor's degree. And the reason why it's difficult for nurses to get it is because nurses do not require a bachelor's degree. I mean, you can have a diploma and be a nurse. And so that is why it's a tough sell. And so the job has to be a specialty occupation job, which means that you have to have it has to be like a pediatrician nurse or geriatric. I mean, any kind of other specialty nurse, and we have to make that argument to be able to be successful in it. So that's why it's a tough sell. So the selection process, this is the lottery. This is pure luck. There's no work here. And then we apply for the I-129, which is the H-1B visa itself. That's the difficult part. If you get approved there, then you go to the, if you're in the US, we'll do a change of status for you. If you're outside the US, you fill out your DS-160 and go to the interview. And if everything goes well, you'll be in the US by November. In theory, if everything goes well. But this one is it's just pure luck. You know, there's no legal work or anything necessarily goes into this. They haven't even looked at you as an applicant. This is just a lottery system. So that's where we are with the H-1B thus far.
Thank you so very much. We believe that, we believe that at least, I know it's, pure luck, but being able to get 6 out of, I think it was 30. We did 30, right? 6 out of 30. Because I added 6, remember?
Well, yeah, that's let's see. Well, this is 6 out of 24.
Because when I go in from my page, I see 30 submissions, 24 submissions.
Yeah, okay. So you have to link me to
I've not
those.
synced it. Yeah, maybe that's why.
Those other ones, and then I'll see, because
yeah.
These are the ones that I submitted. They're 24.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, you might want to check the additional 6 and see if you got any selections out of those.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that. All right, so yeah, that's the little update that we have about the H-1Bs, and we just doing this to be able to make sure we assist nurses to get here sooner and quicker. We also want to present the study visa pathway that we discussed today. Mr. Funsho did a very good job on that. And we thank you so much, Mr. Funsho, for coming on board and discussing this with us. And then, everybody that is here that you want to take advantage of this pathway, you can reach out to the number that was posted on the comment section, and we'll be able to assist you, guide you, and hold your hands and make sure that you get here successfully by God's grace. So we have Chinenye Paul Ejiba. She said, please, what of Canada study routes? What options are there? So for Canada, do we have, you have schools in Canada that you, sorry, Mr. Funsho, let me ask you to unmute. We'll soon be done, guys. I know it's almost 2 hours in.
Yes, we do have schools in Canada as well that we can explore for nursing degrees, for sure. I think it's a bit simpler in the US though, but there are schools in Canada as well that we can do. Yeah.
All right, thank you. And then Precious is asking, please, can a nurse get H-1B visa without NCLEX?
No. You have to be licensed and able to work in the US. If you don't pass the NCLEX, you cannot work as a nurse.
Chika is saying, does the EW2, and I don't know what that visa category.
EB2, I think it's a typo. It's EB2.
Okay. Does EB2 to NI, EB2 NIW visa pathway cover dependents that are unmarried and 21 years old, but not up to 22 at the time of filing?
The regulation says children under the age of 21. So if you're 21, you don't qualify, right? Under the age of 21. Okay. So the moment you hit 21, you're not eligible. So now it doesn't mean that you cannot subsequently petition for them, but it just means they can't come with you on that application. So if you come to the US and then you become a permanent resident, and then you eventually become a US citizen, you can petition for your children that are over the age of 21, but then the visa bulletin controls, right? That might take a little bit longer. So it doesn't mean you can't bring them. It just means that they cannot come with you when you're coming.
All right, sounds good. I want to thank everybody. Thank you all for coming and joining us today. It was a very interesting moment. And Mr. Funsho, I will be reaching out to you with the list of people that are, interested in doing the program, the study visa route, the option, admission, and everything. That will save me a whole lot. And then Mr. Mr. Douglas, I want to say thank you for coming on board. I don't know if you have anything again to say to us today. I know we've been working on a lot of things.
Yeah, no, I think we're all up to date. The H-1B selections, we've talked about that, and yeah, I think we're all square.
Okay, are we going to see you next week, Friday?
Yeah, I'll be here next week.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. And then thank you so much. And I think there are so many other. Yes, the meeting was recorded, and I will be sending the recordings. I will be uploading it in our YouTube. So if you're not following us, go there, follow us on YouTube, and when I upload it, you get a notification. And that brings us to the end of this session, and it was a very interesting one. Thank you so much, Mr. Funsho. Mr. Funsho, any final words for us?
No, we're good. Just once you're ready, reach out to Decency, and then we can just start moving, really.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks a lot, guys. God bless you.
Yeah,
Bye.
have a good weekend, everybody.
Bye.